Go ahead.
All right, well, 8:02, we'll call the meeting on today, June 13th of the Police Department Building Committee. We have an agenda and I see others out there, the usual suspects. And so Joe, were there any public comments?
No public comments.
All right, the minutes. Guys had a chance to take a look at them. Thank you for writing them up, Joe.
Thank you.
And Nick, the reason because there was still some issue about whether you were officially on the committee or not. That's why you were not listed as such. So we'll take care.
I noticed. Thank you for clarifying.
You do exist in our hearts, Nick. Don't you worry about it.
Okay.
He's on, just as a liaison down below.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So any other improvements, corrections, grammatical,
Move to approve.
all right,
Second.
favor? All right, thank you. Updates, ready to go.
Okay, Scott is on vacation, his son's graduating.
Here.
Oh, sorry, Mike.
By the way, well earned. Scott's doing a terrific job. Now that he's not here, we can say nice things about him. We don't want to embarrass him in person. But I'll tell you, first off, the community couldn't be happier with the job he's done in interfacing with them, all the neighbors, and some of them take a little more getting used to than others. And he's done a terrific job with that from a building perspective. I believe our safety record is, I don't want to jinx anything.
We have one recordable, no lost time.
Okay, so
Somebody had an existing shoulder problem.
So a fairly sterling safety record. And of course, his response to this building committee has always been excellent. And Joe, you're closer to it than I am. I think you've been very, very impressed with Scott's work.
Yeah, he's very enthusiastic and passionate about our project. So
Yeah. So
couldn't do better.
It's
Yeah.
good for a laugh every now and then too.
We laugh at him quite often.
But he's down, his son's graduating from the Coast Guard Academy, so he's.
Oh,
on his
wow.
way for that. So you've got me as your MC today. Larry, can we go to the video?
Absolutely.
I'm gonna start by just walking through some photos. So this is obviously the rear of the building. Those are all the footings that are now ready to be poured. They will be poured tomorrow, but you can see how
Today.
shoring of the columns, which are in the background there, the two columns on their new piers. Having to get access to that precluded us from being able to proceed with this work. So just a little visual. Those footings get concrete block right on top of them. There aren't foundation walls per se, but the building comes up right from those footings. There's only one wall, which is on the near side of us.
So just to stop at the footings.
Yeah.
So the footings that ended right where the cement starts at the bottom, right? And we added in those cement blocks.
Well, if you look at the columns, there's a footing below that, and then that's a pier going back to where the base plate of the column pre-existed. But before that, the footings went all the way up to those base plates. So there was a much bigger block of concrete there instead of just the smaller rectangle.
So is there anything, do we lose any space in the building because we have the bigger footings or anything, or is that?
No, we regained the space because we got rid of the big footings and
Oh, okay.
they would have obstructed your access to the locker rooms.
So the pier basically is buried in the wall.
Yep.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
And and that won't degrade at any faster
No.
rate than the rest of everything?
No,
It's gonna
no,
be
it's
the
well-
whole 50-year building?
You
Oh,
rebuilt the pier, right? That's brand new pier.
Brand new pier.
Right.
Yeah. So you've got hundreds of years with that concrete. The columns are not fireproofed. There are some of the existing beams are fireproofed. Brian, I'll defer to you on the code requirement there.
There's no spray fireproofing on this project.
I think it's probably because previously you were not fully sprinklered and now you will be.
That does aid in that, yes.
Next Next photo. Well, that just, yeah, okay, next photo.
Yep.
So here we are in the front of the building and the progress here, I can see we've gotten a good start on the PVC trim on the top. We're about 40% into it. There's a lot of dentals that go in. We obviously have the pediment and but that's underway. All the windows are installed on this elevation as well as the back elevation.
Everything was duplicated, right? What was theirs?
Yes, we're replacing it in
The
kind.
look is the exact same.
Correct.
I had a
Yep.
complaint about that, you know.
Well, we're not finished yet, so it doesn't have to
Well,
say
that's what I
yet.
raised it too, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is.
It is in our understanding and as designed by Brian to be a complete replica of it, just improved materials, whether it's the trim or whether it's the cupola.
Yeah, that was my understanding as well. I just wanted to confirm because I got,
Yep.
like I said, I got a complaint and I was like, wait a minute. First of all, let us finish. And then second, I just wanted to confirm.
What was the complaint then?
Doesn't
What
look
were
the
they
same.
complaining?
That, well, they don't like the materials. They don't like a couple of other things that are associated with it, but they were concerned with the cornicing,
Oh,
you know.
at least they're not picking nits.
So PVC, is PVC the same as ASIC or just,
It's a brand name.
It's a
PVC is the generic
oh,
material.
okay, so it's basically the
yeah.
same.
It's made out of polyvinyl chloride.
Right.
Basically it.
The waterproofing is complete. At the basement level, we haven't completed the backfill yet because we've got some utilities that are still migrating into the building. We're working on the water line right now. It's meandering around. We've got some more electrical to do. But the footing drain is in at the bottom of that assembly. And we're just waiting to tie it into the rest of the storm system. And let's see, we're waiting for other ongoing utility work. We're waiting for Frontier, which will, once that line, that fiber line is moved, then we can finish up some of our storm work. And we're going to be starting the curb cut out to the main road there next week.
Well, you're on that. Can you tell us what you put in for irrigating the plants in the front?
I think right now we do not have any irrigation.
There's no irrigation. We have a sleeve going through the building and we're gonna work with John Howe, Bill Walbert and Faith from the
NCBO, yeah.
Beautification League.
Right, so we've had our first discussions with the
Right.
Beautification League. We haven't actually scheduled a meeting. We sent them the plans, their work, they want to sharpen their pencil. And Joe did a terrific job of making sure we have a sleeve going through the building to handle irrigation. So we will have irrigation. We want to get Beautification's final comments before we pave the driveways, things like that. We don't want to have to dig anything up to lay our irrigation. So that's
One
basically
of the
where we
things
are.
we agreed to at a town council meeting was that we would do this with native plants. We wouldn't need much. irrigation.
That was the point. Yeah.
Yeah, that, we committed that to P and Z, that we
Don't need it.
still need irrigation. Correct.
You gotta see it.
Yes.
Just didn't want to let that.
Where is it
other
gonna
point
hook
slide
up
away.
to the water? Do we know?
Inside the,
What?
inside the building.
Oh, inside the building.
In the mechanical room.
In the what?
Oh, in the mechanical room, in the bottom, the left-hand corner, right over there.
So we've already done the cut, or we already
Yep.
had the pipe coming out of the building too?
I think we're gonna,
Or
if
do
we
or
don't
do you
have,
have the sleeve coming out?
Yeah.
We're
Okay.
just gonna have to sleep.
we're far away from having a pipe and all that kind of stuff. We need to know exactly what the size and this is a late add to the project, so we'll just have to make sure that we get everything and then we'll have to give Turner the official instructions to put it in. So
Right.
It's
So
early in the
if
process.
there is the sleeve coming out of the front of the building or out of the
Yep.
side of the building? So is there any impact on the waterproofing, or we're all still gonna be watertight with respect to that front?
so I think Scott was gonna utilize that fire department connection because we're changing it.
Right.
So that's we were gonna
So it's
reutilize.
not a
the
new,
existing-
it's not a new, okay.
Yeah,
We're gonna patch the, we're gonna put a sleeve in and we're gonna seal tight. We're gonna waterproof that. As does, all the other utilities. So it won't be, it won't be a leak. Trying
We
to.
just want to make sure it's not a source of a leak.
Right.
Yep, understood.
The windows that are in now, is that the final window?
No, no, we
Oh,
gotta
these are
replace, we have to replace all the sashes,
Okay, got it.
but that will
But now it's
happen
gonna be
later on.
sealed, so we can.
Yeah.
Put the slope on.
Hey, Ty, are those the original columns from
Yes,
25?
yes, yeah.
And they're in good shape? I
Yeah.
mean, you guys looked at them?
Yeah.
All right.
Ask Brian,
Brian, when, as far we're on the columns, we're not sandblasting them, we're not doing anything to them or anything like that. Is that true?
That is correct. They're limestone and we're gonna leave them, they're in good condition.
Okay, next slide, Larry. Okay, now we're jumping inside the building. We're up on the upper level. You can see we're really moving along. We've got the ceiling grid in. We've got the cassettes, which are the HVAC, that's heating and cooling. We're also working on the radiant panels that go right in front of the windows. Those are just a heating element. Take the chill off the windows. We've got, there are the lights hanging down below. We're moving along really well with the above ceiling. We'll probably just gotta, one of the last things we have to do is just land the sprinkler heads and the ceiling tile. Then we'll ask for an above ceiling inspection and be ready to close up the ceilings. You can also see all the walls are painted. We have 2 coats on. We'll wait and do the final coat as we're coming down the home stretch. The windows get a lot of trim around them. That's a solid wood trim. So we're going to hold off on that until we have the building conditioned so that it doesn't expand and contract a lot, taking a lot of humidity. So that'll be more of a fall activity. So these we'll get the ceilings closed up and then they'll sit around a little bit until we get the HVAC on. Then we'll focus on the trim, the carpet, and putting the wood doors in.
And the interior window trim is real wood.
Yes.
Correct.
Next photo. This is just another picture up on the upper level. Pretty much the same comments. But you can see it's moving pretty far along. Now we are on the main level. This is the entry lobby. We're in this particular photo, we hard ceiling, the drywall ceiling. So we started the framing for that. And this particular space does not get its own cassette. It gets fed in from the sides. So you don't see one of those hanging, but we're in good shape with the overhead. You can see the sprinkler with the flex connection there hanging up in the ceiling. And we're sheetrock. We have the bullet resistant sheetrock behind the purple sheetrock. And we're getting ready to put in the hollow metal frames for the transaction windows. So
Why is it a drywall ceiling?
it's just a fancier look.
Oh,
It's not the full drywall ceiling. It's on the perimeter, and then there's a cloud in the well, we call it cloud, but it's drop ceiling in the middle. You see the empty space in the middle. That's where the drop ceiling is.
right, okay.
Is the bullet resistant?
That's in front of dispatch.
Right.
So that's in front of dispatch,
Right there.
plugged in, so that,
Glass hand door.
And the conduits were installed between the carpenter and the EOC and the EOC and the server room? Those are in place?
yes.
Great.
So I know we're having a more friendly user interface between the public and the dispatch room. Can someone, maybe Brian, can you describe exactly what it's going to look like there?
When you enter into the lobby, on center with the entry door is a new transaction window that'll be into the dispatch center. They will have an intercom to talk back and forth to the public, but they'll also have an ability to pass items through the window through a bullet resistant tray. And so they can interact and with the public through that center window. The framed opening to the left is for a wall-mounted monitor, a recessed monitor. So you can give information to the public there, and you can have that interactive and change messages to the public. And the opening that's framed on the right is a poster case, so they can post anything for the public in that lobby. And it'd be behind glass, so it's not just a tack board on the wall, it'll be a poster case. So they can put out notices or any information for the public on the right side. So it's center window, left monitor, right poster case, and then to the far right is a bullet resistant transaction window for records. If somebody wants to get records, they can retrieve records through that window.
So if you come up and nobody in the room happens to notice you, how do you, as a member of the public, get the attention of a police officer?
Well, the dispatchers will be manned 24/7.
There's a glass area.
Right, but like let's say everybody's just busy. You just knock on the window, or
I think you press the intercom button and start
Press enter.
talking.
There's a chime when you walk in the door too, so for the dispatcher's trained ear, when you hear that ding, no matter what you're doing.
Okay,
So you'll always get notified.
okay. Okay, thanks.
Right, and there's gonna be a seating area, comfortable area, for waiting.
Yeah, there's some seats. I don't know know how comfortable they are.
Not too comfortable.
But as you can see, the taping's ongoing. There are other areas that are much further along in terms of the finishes. This is one of the rooms where you can see that it's actually, we have the paint up and whatnot. Cassettes have started above. So a lot of the roughing's ongoing. I think next week, middle of next week, we'll be starting putting the ceiling grid in, then dropping lights, and it'll progress and look very much like the upper level in probably about 3 weeks.
And if there's any, the walls have been primed in the first coat, they'll leave the second coat off because it's going to get, beat up during construction. But if you want any changes to any colors or anything like that, just work with Brian. I don't know. There's been comments on the colors that they were a little darker than expected. So now's the opportunity to basically change it for free if we want to.
Oh, okay.
So,
Who's gonna head that?
well, I'm just saying, if anyone is really opposed to any of the colors that they're seeing, speak now or enjoy the
You're
colors.
referring to colors of wall.
So Brian, dark brown is lovely. So Brian, we don't want to do this on an ad hoc basis.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it possible to set up a time when you bring all the other materials that are going in there, and then we get your opinion and the opinion of the decorators and everything? We don't want to be, if there's an issue on this, we want the whole professional team sort of weighing in on it.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion, because all you're seeing is the wall. You're not seeing how it coordinates with the base or the carpet or other colors in the space. So we have all those other materials that are going into those spaces. So I think if you're concerned about any color, then we will bring down all of the other finishes that it's coordinated with, so you can see that before the final coat goes on.
I think that'd be great to coordinate and let everybody.
Yes.
So pick a date that works for the whole team, and we, and see if we can make it work for us.
Is that within the next 3 months, 2 months? Final color?
I would think,
Well,
I think next month if we could,
Okay.
just because if you're gonna change base or anything like that,
Gotcha. All right.
that's gonna be a little more problematic. But also,
maybe we schedule something right after one of these meetings for anyone that's interested. We'll do that in like a month or so.
Yeah, that'd be great.
also forgot to mention the ceramic tile is installed in the bathrooms on the upper level, and they'll be migrating down to the main level next week as well. So the parade of trades is working their way down the building. The lower level is a little further behind. This is the fitness area. You can see we have the new masonry wall on the left with the windows installed. If you pan out, you'll see, no, the other way, Larry, sorry. You see the conduits in the ceiling working across there we go. And we started the ductwork. But this is where the MEP coordination, where the structural engineer does not want us penetrating that bearing wall up where the joists are, or in fact, within 2 feet of the bottom of the joist. So basically, you'd be knocking your head if we put them in the way he wants through that wall. So we're looking at other opportunities of going down and underneath the walls and then popping up on the other side of the corridor. So that's a little bit of a showstopper
I'm
right
sorry, I
now.
don't get, what were we gonna do that they don't want us to do?
They don't want us to penetrate that bearing wall,
This one
whether
with the
it's, whether
windows?
it's block or terracotta, yes.
Okay.
Because that wall goes all the way up through the building and supports all the joists, which are what's the slab structure to the right there. So he doesn't want us penetrating that within 2 feet of the bond beam, which is up at the, just under the joist. So
And Ty, if you can stay on that for just a minute, because we have been working with the police department and their fitness committee. And we have received a layout from the fitness committee on where they'd like their equipment, but also where they'd like to coordinate the TV monitors, the power, the flooring materials. And because of this not being able to penetrate the wall, the right-hand door that you see in that photograph is going to be utilized for mechanical equipment. So we're going to bring mechanical equipment down through the door opening. So we're going to not have that as a door. We're going to have that furred out as a wall. And we talked to the fitness committee about this, and they were actually okay with that. They'd rather have the wall space than the door. So we're going to give them more wall space for equipment and eliminate the door opening, but utilize it for what we need for mechanical.
So then is there only one entrance?
There's one door in, one door out, and the 3 windows will be to the corridor.
Does that affect, how's the code affect that? Is there a code?
We are still within the code requirements. Yeah. The door wasn't there for code. The door was actually there for some convenience, but they found the wall to be more convenient than the door.
Okay. And then the ceiling height with all, it's going to be what now?
I think
The ceiling height's going to be very similar to what you see there, but around the perimeter of the room, there's going to be a 3-foot soffit that drops another foot below what you see. So that 1-foot soffit that comes out 3 feet into the room will contain all the ductwork, the piping, the conduits.
So that really was the compromise. Instead of doing a lot of other things, they put it in, the soffit, so yeah, 3 feet out, you could all sort of picture that.
So we're
good a solution as any, right?
So when we go tour it, how far in the middle of the room, how far down is the ceiling gonna come?
In the middle of the room, only an inch below that joist.
How tall
Okay.
will the ceiling be though? How?
9 feet, 9 feet.
That's what you want. Right?
And since that's a, just basically a basement room, what type of lighting are we putting in there to make certain it has like a good feel to it when you go in?
It'll have a great feel to it. The lights are strip lighting that we are placing within the joist spacing. So it'll be within the 9-foot ceiling, but it'll be flush with the 9-foot ceiling.
all right.
Right, but is it gonna be like, is it full spectrum? Is it gonna be, I mean, sometimes you go into a basement and you just like, you don't even realize it's a basement. You think, oh, this is, I mean, lighting today has progressed so much.
I think that's what you'll feel when you're in this room.
Okay.
It won't feel like a basement space.
Is all the lighting LED lighting in the building? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. And the town's received an estimate on the rebate incentive for that too. So you will be getting, Joe, I believe it was just in excess of $40,000.
Correct. That was,
Going-
it was up to, I always make sure that I say that it's up to
Yeah.
40-something thousand. based on the specified equipment, if there's any changes, swap outs or anything, we have the opportunity to increase it, but there's also the opportunity for someone to go away. Just with procurement challenges, you never know what you're getting everything exact distance.
So the lighting will go in to those beams? Is that right?
In between the joists, yeah.
That'll okay, great. And the beams are just painted or coated?
Oh, no, they'll get drywall on the
Or
other side.
drywall?
But the drywall is gonna be just like in the
Just a
middle of the room,
drywall.
it's just gonna be like an inch below that.
Yep.
So it's still gonna feel, it feels
There's-
pretty tall.
Acoustical ceiling in the middle of the space and the drywall is only on the perimeters.
Oh, okay, got it. Because it's a. The sound would be.
Yeah.
pretty-
You have a sound system in there, Joel?
Maybe there's a-
So can the committee get a, from the gym committee, can we get a view of what the vision is for what's gonna go into the room?
We are
It's
working
done?
on that currently. So the idea was, as Brian mentioned, we had to find out where to put the outlets, for
Right.
example, the NEMA outlets for where the treadmills are gonna be and kind of where you want to have the layout of the equipment. We have a very broad idea is you're gonna have the cardio equipment starting with the treadmills from the door down that wall. And then on the other side, you're gonna have a throw wall, the throw balls you can throw against the wall for fitness on that end with a whiteboard on the far end. And then coming back up this way is where you're gonna have your machines and your weights. And we're working with 4 companies right now, hoping to get 4 bids. Not sure what we're gonna get, how receptive they're gonna be to giving us a bid at this time, but we have a couple of renditions from each company that we're kind of tweaking a little bit now. And now that we've given our idea and our vision about where the mounts are gonna be, the outlets, and the speakers, we're gonna get that feedback from Brian soon, I'm sure, to see that that's all gonna work. And if that works, then we can get back to those companies and say, okay, this is the layout of the room. This is where the outlets are. This is where the mounts are. Now you can give us your final rendition.
Okay,
So we're getting there. We're definitely,
Great.
there's a lot of little pieces that, to put together before they can really give us a certainty. And, we have to get the height right, obviously, too. So.
okay, great.
Okay, so this is the opposite side of the lower level, in the locker room areas. You can see we've poured the slabs there, so all the underground plumbing's in. On the left-hand corner is that's where the chairlift is gonna go to provide handicap access between the 2 levels. To the right is one of the columns that we shored up, and you can see where we had to put some channel on there to grab the column. And ductwork is underway on this side. The ductwork's all fed from the new addition, so we don't have the coordination concern with the ductwork. It's primarily it's plumbing, electrical, and sprinkler lines that we have to figure out how to get across the board. So and also to the right, you see where the rebar is sticking up. That might be one of the areas where we come in from the other side under slab and then pop back up. So we're holding off pouring that wall until we resolved all this, the coordination path. But, so that's important.
Is that in the front? Is that facing
That's
South Avenue?
No, that's facing east.
That's facing.
That's back towards our trailer.
This is where the locker room is more ceiling height than the lower floor.
Right, yeah, right.
Okay, next one, Larry.
That's it. That's
That's
2.
it. Okay,
That's
very good.
Right.
Okay. The rest of our report, we handed out the monthly report as well. There's some, summary sections on the section 1 and at the bottom sort of telling you some of the progress in the past month. The challenges, as I've already touched on, we finished the shoring up the building, but this MEP coordination is really important. It's not as much on the critical path as the shoring was because, it's the fit out within the renovation phase. Right now, our critical path going forward is the construction of the addition. And looking ahead right now, as I said, we're about to pour those footings. Then we put in some block. We have to build the block stair because some of the steel ties into that. We're going to have a couple of columns delivered next week that tie into the masonry. And our target right now is to start steel in earnest on July 1st. July 1st. Steel for the addition.
So what the first steel? The first
said-
steel delivery says 6/14 or 6/17.
Yep. Which is
That's
just
two
two
columns.
columns that get integrated in with the masonry.
Got it.
And then the rest of the steel, it says 7/2, but it's really going to be 7/1. Little typo there.
How much time did we lose with the column building, the base repositioning?
About 4 weeks.
And are we gonna be able to recapture some of that?
I don't think so.
TBD, no?
Yeah, we're going to do obviously everything we can, but
Sure.
that's our critical path going forward. So we do, when we get to the numbers, we have the cost for that and the cost for the schedule adjustment for staff.
But even with all the delays, we are certainly ahead
Yeah.
of our communications with, with the public and with our real, move-in date objectives.
Yeah, I'll let you sort of read through the milestones. I think this will give you a pretty good feel for what's coming up. The cupola is towards the end of July. We won't do the roof replacement till after all the cupola's work is done because we obviously don't want to trash the new roof. As I said, it's really the addition going forward at this point. Still have good news on the switchgear, the generator, so those dates are holding. And
When are they coming? When's that coming?
switchgear's coming, shipping the end of July, so we'll get started installing it in early August. And generator's coming in October, really. So we don't really need that till we turn over the building, but we'll have it in plenty of time.
Have you gutted the existing electrical room there?
Oh, yeah.
You've taken it?
Oh, yeah. Everything's out of there. We're totally just on our temp power. Good.
Are we past the period of unexpected surprises? I mean, like, is the probability of an unexpected surprise a lot
The
lower? at
surprises
this
are
point?
reducing. We're waiting for a walkthrough with the structural engineer. We're seeing some cracks in some of the existing masonry and want to get a better understanding of what the source of that is. So there are a couple things that are, we've noted that we need to address.
And where is that?
It's actually on the piers on the backside.
Yeah.
So. It's in that vicinity, sort of to the left of, there we go. Where Larry's showing right now.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Is it exterior or interior?
Well, it was interior. It's that yellow brick that I guess was part of the interior part of the gym.
Carry the beam up top right here.
Yeah, and you got a big beam up there.
The big.
Looks like it's a masonry pier. We're not sure if there's steel in there or not. We're gonna look at the existing drawings, but
I wonder why they wouldn't be, given that if you got the two in the middle, why wouldn't they have steel piers on either side? Steel.
Well,
posts.
it's also one of the benefits would be to have concrete or masonry pier and the viewers actually sit on a seat on that, in that section, so. Could be constructed either way, that's why we're having the engineer come out to look at it to make sure everything's appropriate.
Right, so there is a chance that something else may need to be shored up at the back of the building, just like like those two, the other footings.
so certainly, guess we're well down the road and the likelihood of surprises are diminishing, but it ain't over till it's over.
Right, well, better to be
Yeah, well-
surprised now than after the building's.
Right, and the
complete.
structural engineer, there will be work that comes out of his walkthrough. There's no doubt in my mind that there'll be work that comes out of that walkthrough. But the risks are continually being reduced as we get further along. And I think Brian said last time, to quote Brian, he thought by July, most of our risks would be addressed that for unforeseen conditions.
Do we think that if they find anything in those two areas, that's gonna be obstructing the progress of the rest of the building, or is it gonna be like this was, or is this gonna be something where they can work with it concurrently with everything else?
I would suspect the method that they would use to true up that foundation, that pier over there would not interfere with the critical path items, but I don't know, Ty, do you concur with that? It's hard to tell without knowing what they're gonna say,
Yeah.
but.
They're independent buildings, but, we'll probably have the slabs poured if we have to support anything. We'll have to put
Clearly, you have
plate
to
in
do
there.
certain things there before you proceed with other things, because as you said, it was a problem last time.
We're a little bit out of that business, in that regard, unless for some reason a prescription that the structural engineer gives us would be, require us not to install the steel. And we'll push to make sure that that doesn't happen, means and methods should be able to do it in a way that doesn't impact the schedule.
So I'm sorry, but what were you saying about those two columns on either side of the back? Like, why would those be? So you think there's not steel in there? You think it's some other,
You don't know
it's
what's in
another?
there.
So the structural engineer is going to come out and look at them. So the masonry works as a, the overall structure works in a certain way, right? You take off the back half of the structure at that pier level. We want to make sure that that pier is functioning as designed.
Right. So I just was curious.
The pier was braced in multiple directions. Some of those
Yeah,
braces have been removed. Now what?
Correct. And they weren't necessarily braces, but they in fact
The effect-
function
Yeah, the
as
effect
as a brace. So yes, you're right. You're right on target. Yes.
so does the new design, as Brian did it, incorporate reinforcing that process with the new building? You know what I mean? In terms of putting the walls in on the new building, or are they not gonna go against where the old ones were?
The new design
Mhm.
is basically a separate diaphragm
Right.
for the building.
Separate, okay,
But now that
right,
the
right.
part was demolished, so it's not functioning exactly as it did
Right.
as in its entire
So they
life.
have
And
to
that's why we're
determine
having
whether-
a structural
Right.
engineer come
I
out
got
and
it.
look at it because
Yep.
some things there were suspicious.
So is the
Okay.
structural engineer gonna have to do destructive, take away part of that column, just to see what's behind it? If it's a steel
We'll-
column or if it's just
We'll see
cement?
when the structural engineer gets there.
All right.
You can never tell what the structural engineer is going to look at until they do all their due diligence and
Okay.
see where the way the loads are carrying through the building. I know you want detail.
Yes, I'm just curious, like why you would have.
class.
Can't wait to hear that report.
It's not, I wouldn't say it's not going to be that challenging for him. It's just a matter of putting eyeballs on an existing building that was constructed in 1926 with the methods that were used in 1926.
Right.
I've responded to Nick's inquiry on percent completes. So in the bottom, executive.
Hey, just quick question. Sorry, it's Michael Chen. Hey, by the way, Joe, it was a great presentation you gave the Board of Finance on Tuesday. Very helpful. A quick question. I was looking on the last chart. You talk about most of the risk on the contingency is past us now, right? There's might be a couple more things. How does our contingency at the town work with the contingency you showed on the last chart, I think, Larry, on the Turner contingency? How does that work? Like whose contingency gets used?
Michael, there are two contingencies. Yeah, the construction contingency is for our issues, whether we have a miss. So that was used to address the window situation. And if we have to accelerate, so it's there for that. Or if, there's just a sink that's shown but doesn't have plumbing to it, we're responsible for making sure that there's plumbing to the sink and things of that nature. Changes in the project are handled by the owner's contingency.
Okay, so we handle our contingency, we do any changes, but that contingency, in case there's something you missed or whatever, then you have your own contingency as well. Is that right? That's how it works?
That's correct.
But we vote. Don't we vote as a building committee if you're going to take something out of your project contingency? Right. So, okay.
Oh, so we
the
vote, okay, on that.
good news is in the end that those contingencies get merged because anything
Like,
they,
Anything we don't spend goes
right,
back. to
goes back to,
Right.
back to the committee. So, it's good news at the end.
Yes, but speaking for the people, it's still money that could come back to us.
Right, got it. So we're ahead of schedule on both, so you guys feel good about your contingency as well, right? The Turner contingency, we're ahead of schedule on that as well?
Yes, yep.
Okay, thank you.
But bigger picture, percent complete of schedule, we're at 40% and current work in place, we're 34. So that does not surprise me. And that the fact that the addition is lagged, that's a bigger cost per square foot than the renovations. So that it makes sense that we should be behind. You typically are on any project. And it's always it's a bell curve. So until you get to the bell, there's the bell curve. Until you get to the peak of the bell curve, that's typically when your intersection matches. So I think in the next couple of months, we're going to see those converge as we start to see.
So it's not though what I requested, right? It's not the CPI, SPI. When you're saying 40% schedule completion and work in place, what does that mean, work in place? Is that cost?
Yeah, work in place is what the work, the compensation for the work that's in place. So the monthly bills, it's the gross amount within our monthly bills. And they can only bill for either work that's in place or material that's in storage.
So in summary, then you're saying, I'm looking at this on my other screen, 40% of schedule has been completed and only 34% of equivalent budget to get the 40% schedule has been spent. So you're underspending 6% relative to schedule?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay, that's very good.
Okay. Any other questions? I'll hand it off to Gene, who will sort of take you through his report.
Thank you, Ty.
Thank you. We didn't even miss Scott.
I mean, you did kind of gloss over the PCO.
And the dollars? The dollars? Oh, my 1,000 pardons.
Happen to see you.
Okay, so yes, let's go to the PCO log. Again, we're going to be focusing on the yellows. Most of the stuff at the top is pretty quick in that we just shifted things to the right. So line 11, carport roof drain went from pending to approved. The same for line 18, which is miscellaneous updates. And then we come down to line 31. That's an item that we had a plug number for 7,000. Larry gets the estimating award because it came in a little under at 6458. That is a wall I think we discussed in the basement. It was a masonry wall that was built right on the slab without a footing. So we took out the masonry wall when we took out the slab, and we're going to replace it with a new drywall rated. It's a fire rated partition within the boiler.
It's an interior wall, right?
Yes, yes. Then we come down to line 48, and that's the same situation where we had the costs identified in the pending, and now the letter's been signed, so it went to approved. This is for a lot of the blocking and the framing in the front of the building. We've talked about it before. So a portion of this is a change, and then we also had some allowance dollars and some hold dollars that were dedicated.
Right, you had to pull out more of the stuff because it was routed or what have you to replace.
Yep, exactly.
And can you give us one or two examples in the miscellaneous column? Going back up to
Yeah, let me see.
number 18. you know.
Yeah, Larry was with this,
ladder, right?
this was the
Oh,
ladder
okay,
and
yes.
the
different
ladder
yeah,
and there was a refrigerator.
Gotcha.
Okay.
We took out the beer cooler and the tap system. did we not?
They in my trailer now. No, I'm kidding.
It's now lemonade.
Larry, can I trouble you to just add a little better description on that miscellaneous? That always makes people in
well-
accounting nervous.
Nothing gets eyeballs
When they see
focused
miscellaneous.
better than miscellaneous, right?
Yeah, we'll do. We'll do.
Just in your written stuff. So
Yeah,
now
yeah.
we'll focus,
I'll update next week.
at the bottom, 58 through 64. Again, we've touched on some of these conceptually. Light fixture change, we talked about this, I think, the last meeting. The bollards did not match the lamp posts that are typical within the town. So this is a charge to upgrade the bollards so that they're the same style as the lamp posts.
If there's something that will get people upset, it would be not mentioning the lamppost, and I'm glad we're taking care of that. Well done.
Okay. So that's.
So Brian, that was your initiative there because.
Yeah, we made that
If that's
revision.
appropriate.
And we made that revision in the submittal review of the bollards.
Thank you, Brian.
So that's an estimated cost. We haven't gotten the hard quote yet, but that's our guesstimate. The next one, 59, I think we've addressed two, up in the bathrooms on the upper level. There was a contradiction on the sink location, and for ADA reasons, we had to move the sink and then fur out one of the walls, which added some tile. So this is just the cost for adding some tile, estimated value of $5,000. The next one is we have to provide some power to the BMS, which is the building management system. It's the controls for the heating and air conditioning. The panels, the electrical drawings didn't show power going to them because they weren't located. That's something typically that sort of happens once the HVAC contractor gets on board. So that's something that we picked up out of a hold. So that's going to be covered out of our GMP. That's one of those connect the dot things that we're responsible for taking care of.
So that's coming out of your.
That's right. That's why you don't see a dollar associated with that. But for our purposes, we give a PCO number to anything that has dollars associated to it. So that's why it's on the log. Lower level MEP reroute. We've talked about this previously. This is our plug of 95. It is a bit of it's a pure guess because we really don't know our routing yet. We're hoping in the next week or so we get that better defined, and then we can talk to all the subs and say, okay, price this up.
Actually, using that blank door as a channel, well, actually should reduce the cost.
That will help. We still have to go under, we have to trough the slab, go under and pop up. But yes, every little bit helps. Yeah. That's the 95. Then the next
So
two,
when you trough the slab, you're going underneath the whole slab, you're going into the slab?
we're going under the slab and probably under the footings as well.
So you're going to be taking the MEP basically through dirt?
Electrical conduits.
It's in,
Electrical,
it's in a
just like we
conduit.
have outside?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yep.
So least structurally disruptive. Yes, effective.
Okay.
The next one is just some temporary MEP with some temp water connections, things of that nature, which we're taking out of our general requirements that we had defined. And the last one, we worked some overtime associated with the pouring and getting these footings ready. So we're taking that out of holds and allowances.
That's a whole lot.
Right. Then the next few sheets is just sort of closing the loop on, you know, showing where the money's coming out of the holds report. You see the premium time for Grasso and Villa out of the holds report on the first page. And then the second page, the holds for the power to the BMS coming out of two separate holds.
For the group that are not aware, the hold is in addition to
Yes,
the contractor's contingency. So it's really another source of funds.
correct. Yep. The allowance report.
Front. It's called unbought, you know, it's a generic, unbought and holds are the same, so the same budget in the back.
Then the cash removing, that was for removing the dispatch equipment. That was assigned to an allowance. And then this is, I'm looking at the allowance report, and then there was the 10,000 for some of that blocking work at the front of the building. And then a small for creating a pocket for the sprinkler on the upper level. So this is getting the sprinklers out to the pediment at the front because of some steel conflicts. We had to sort of rework that and reroute that.
About $70,000 left in the hole.
Yep. Oh, no, in the allowances, right?
Yes.
Yeah, allowances has quite a bit more than that. 267 left in the holds. 33 in the allowances. And the contingency is the big one, 523 left there. And so the only in the contingency is we just took the approximate amounts and Larry's generated those letters and they're in for approval. So those three things just moved from approximate to pending. Right. Now it's the Gene show.
All right, I should be able to share for those of you online here. So if you go to the summary report, which is the colored graphic that you can see up top here, the big picture, we're still hovering under the $29 million, of which our soft cost contingency, owner's contingency, the number reflected here is about $45,000 less than this. And the reason for that is I assumed a $50,000 for that masonry repair. I didn't catch it on the report fast enough, the 95. So really we're about 1.122 on the soft cost owner's contingency. And if you add that to the GMP contingency of about 523,000, you know, we're hovering about $1.7 million total, with the exception of the holds and the allowances that are on the other sheet. So pretty good considering, you know, with the expectation that there may be a few more changes with the structural thing that we just discussed. Schedule wise, you know, as Ty had mentioned, you know, the anticipation originally, the scheduled start, which was critical path, was the structural steel and the precast. So that month delay obviously has impacted the overall schedule on the projected completion. So there may be a little shift there as Ty and his team, Scott and Larry, are working on an updated schedule, which will reflect the that delay pause, if you want to call it, for good reason. So, you know, we're still on target for the fall 2025. Anticipated construction completion maybe later in March instead of.
Right now we're targeting early in mid-February.
Yeah, still, okay.
All right, so everyone, there basically Turner's internal plan is to be done construction by mid to late February. Let's just say things happen and we could call it you'd still say, hey, it's winter until March 21st. Still winter of March, winter of 25 is still a good guess. And then as far as moving in is concerned, again, these charts show fall of 2025. The charts that were shown to town council, are starting to say, summer 2025, though we put all kinds of contingencies on that. And again, summer goes to September 20th, as I recall. So we're all on the same schedule. How we sort of, articulate that is we just don't want people thinking that the construction schedule is the project completion schedule, because as Tiger and Joe did a good job of explaining to the town council last night, you can't have the police department in there with a punch list, right? This is a public safety building. We don't want to have construction guys milling about while you guys are doing your work. And so, a building being complete is not necessarily a building that we're turning over to the police department. We have a lot of things we have to coordinate with the state of Connecticut, with communications equipment and everything, all kinds of things. So just so we're all on the same page, summer, fall 2025 is still a good estimate.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, the idea,
All is a good way to put it.
there's a commissioning, we got to commission the building, we got to do the punch list, we got to move it back, we got to bring in furniture, equipment. So there's months of that, which is good, because I think this is a lot of times what happens on projects is there's a rush to the end and an immediate occupancy, and that's where all the problems start to have. And while now the building is occupied, and with the sensitivity of the project, this is a good place to be.
So it sounds like you allow 6 months between construction completion and move in to deal with all this.
Vetting.
And it may take 6 months, it may take less, you don't know.
We'll know better as we get a little closer to it, but ideally.
Is there any notice we got to give to the current place we rent, the Board of Education, to end the lease early, or how's that work? In case we end early.
We're month to month with a 3-month notification.
Okay. So there could be some savings, but don't count on it, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
If you go to the next report, which is this one here, again, this is truncated for visual pleasure only. Just to represent what the owner's contingency and how it's being drawn down. So this pairs with what Turner provides us, sometimes bi-weekly, where we update the PCOs and the drawdowns against the contingency. So the only difference right now is this 50,000, which should be 95. That's why the contingency balance is a little bit lower than what's shown here right now. But we're tracking the project cost always at 29 million. And letting the contingency between either Turner or the town absorb the project challenges and changes as they occur. So we're keeping a close eye on that. The other thing that's in the project, of course, is all the other things that have to do with moving, relocation of the police department back into the building, the furniture, testing and surveys, the commissioning agent, all those other expenses we're tracking, so that those are expenses outside of Turner's contract, but stuff that the town is paying for. And as we get closer to the completion, those will really ramp up to a greater degree dollar-wise. And then I think the last one is just a mimic of, if you go to the very last page, is just really just the progress report of total completed and stored to date versus the month requisition of about $1.3 million. And I don't know if Ty, if you mentioned it, but obviously the projection is actually pretty good. If it wasn't for the delay, you would have been right on the money. Steel would have been in place. We would have had an invoice for the steel and the precast, and I think that expense would have been there. So it's really indicative of that 1 month delay. in that column replacement. So overall, very good. I think we're in good shape.
Thank you, Gene. Any questions for Gene? Guess we're up to next steps. We talked about the meeting with the Beautification League already, so that's moving forward. We are going to meet with Brian and his design team in the next month or so to go through final stamp of approval on paint color, I believe. So that's something we want to do. Are there any other next steps that we're need to put on a calendar or an agenda?
I guess I can add to schedule that CAMA is coordinating the final furniture FF&E package. And they have one meeting remaining with the police department to finalize, but the schedule on the FF&E is to bid it over the summer, come back to the building committee in September with a recommendation for a vote. So that you can anticipate for September building committee meeting.
Thank you. And there's nothing else for a vote, at our next meeting that we know of right now, I believe, correct?
No votes that I know.
Okay.
With the exception of, there might be, the release of an authorization of the, whatever structural work comes out of, the MEP relocations.
We could vote any of these open PCOs.
Right.
All right, and then for Brian, is there any delay in the furniture now, or is the supply chain pretty well caught up? So if we
I
need-
have heard that it's,
Yeah, or is it 3 months, or is it kind of much simpler now?
no, bidding it in the summer is going to give you plenty of time to have it when you need it come next spring, summer.
Great.
Yeah, it's actually nice because it is off cycle, because usually all the schoolwork and all that stuff is happening between now and September. Putting something in at the end of the fall is really a good time to do that, things like that.
And we'll remind the police department that when we did the Sachs Middle School, we literally took out all the auditorium chairs, shipped them to Pennsylvania, and had them resanded and refurbished and brought them back. And it was less expensive and far superior to the to new chairs. So we'll keep that in mind, Andrew, when we come to
You'll have to
your
get,
furniture. I'm just telling you the perspective we're approaching this.
we'll have to get them out of the dumpster. Because we did it several months ago. You're welcome.
What about the shed? What's the decision on the shed?
Thought we
The
had
shed's
the
being
shed.
moved.
Because it's moved?
It's being moved.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
I
being
missed
moved.
that.
We found the location. It's gonna be right to the, basically, if you're looking at, from the trailer, right to the right of the little dumpster kind of area, their dumpster.
Okay.
But we might have to rework the sidewalk just a little bit from going there, but Tiger volunteered to do the sidewalk stuff. He loves sidewalks.
Exactly.
All right, is that it, Joe? Anything else for us?
That's it. That's all.
9:05, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Question for you guys. So I have another project I'm working on.
Okay.
We gotta